What's the pettiest revenge you've ever got on an entitled boss? My manager, Paul, had this thing about lunch breaks. He'd time them down to the second, and if anyone went even a minute over, he'd dock their pay. But the real kicker? He'd take 2-hour lunches himself, sitting in his BMW, eating fancy takeout while watching Netflix. One day, he called me into his office because I was late coming back from lunch. I tried explaining that I got stuck behind a train, but he just smirked and said, maybe try meal prepping like me instead of wasting company time at Subway. He pulled out this fancy glass container of grilled salmon and quinoa. That's when I noticed something interesting. Every day at exactly 1:15 p.m., he'd microwave his fancy lunch for exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Never a second more or less. It was like clockwork. So I started my plan. First, I needed access to the break room when he wasn't around. I volunteered to come in early to catch up on work. Really, I was studying that microwave. Turns out it was ancient, probably from when the building was built in the 90s. I Googled the model and found the instruction manual online. Did you know most old microwaves have a hidden test mode that service technicians use? All it takes is pressing a specific combination of buttons. Every morning before anyone arrived, I'd put the microwave in test mode and reduce the power by 2%. Small enough that nobody would notice right away, but just enough to matter. I did this for weeks. Paul started complaining that his food wasn't heating up properly. He'd check the time, double-check the power settings, but couldn't figure it out. His precious salmon was always slightly cold in the middle. Then came the day he had a big client meeting. He was wearing his expensive white shirt. The one he bragged cost more than my weekly salary. As usual, he put his lunch in at 1:15 p.m. But this time, when he took out his container, the salmon was barely warm. He angrily shoved it back in and hit the buttons harder, like that would help. What he didn't know was that earlier that morning, I'd finally dropped the power to 40%. The container exploded. Pink salmon bits and quinoa splattered all over his pristine white shirt, the microwave, and even the ceiling. The smell was horrible. He had to cancel his meeting. He started bringing cold lunches after that, but it didn't end there. See, I'd also been documenting every time he took those 2-hour lunch breaks. Every single one, with timestamps from the security cameras I had access to as part of my job. When corporate came for their annual audit, they found my detailed log slipped under their door. Turns out Paul had been billing clients for work he claimed to do during those Netflix lunches. He was fired 2 weeks later. The new manager got us a new microwave and instituted a flexible lunch hour policy. Sometimes she even orders pizza for the whole office.